the Capital Farm Credit Wednesday night podcast, our weekly look at the area athletic scene, what happened last week, and what's going on this week. I'm here with my partner, Dan Youngblood, via Zoom, and tonight we've got a very special guest. We've got Dublin head football coach and athletic director Bob Cervetto, who just announced his retirement last week, and he has been kind enough to give us some of his time this evening and visit with us.
Yeah, I mean, I think Coach Cervetto's one of your favorite people and mine. I mean, this is a guy that just has infectious positivity. He's a guy that can make anyone feel good about themselves, and I think you've seen the impact he's had in both Stephenville and most recently Dublin, just with bringing positivity to a place and kind of showing people their potential. And to me, that's what a coach's job is. That's what an educator's job is. And you'd be hard-pressed to convince me that many people have done a better job of that than Coach Cervetto. So I think he gets to retire, and he should be very, very proud of what he's done. And I'm excited to talk to him. He's fun to talk to under normal circumstances, so I'm really excited now to get a chance just to, let him reflect a little bit on his career and kind of how he views his time at Dublin.
And before we get into this week's show, we need to thank our primary sponsor, Capital Farm Credit, with offices all over Texas, including Stamford and Abilene. Buy your own slice of Texas with Capital Farm Credit. Together, we're better. And with that, we're going to take a look at some of the key ball games that we had last week here in the Big Country. We'll start with some of the locals. Dan, you were on hand for Abilene High, a big win over Wolfforth Frenship, 42-7. And what does this mean? What does this tell us about the Eagles? Are we starting to see some momentum gathering here?
Yeah, this was a really, really big win for them. This is one that if they wanted to make the playoffs and snap that 3-game playoff drought, they needed to win this game. This was a big one for them, and they really dominated it from start to finish. They scored the first 42 points in this game. Frenship did not get on the board until the fourth quarter. Big game for Fonzo Dotson. That was one that he was kind of due for. He's a running back who's had a solid year, but he hadn't really had that breakout game. This was that for him. He rushed for 3 touchdowns, including a pair of 32-yarders to kind of get them going. So just a really big, really positive win for Abilene High in all phases. They looked good offensively. They looked really good defensively. They had 3 interceptions. And then special teams, they did what they needed to do. So a really solid all-around win. And now they get to finish up district play with Midland High and Odessa High. And those are the 2 weakest teams in this district. If they can take care of business, not only will they make the playoffs, they've got a shot still since they beat Permian to get in as the number 3 seed. So if they can take care of their own business, they will make the playoffs, and they'll go into the postseason with some momentum. They got a chance to go in on a 3-game winning streak, which I think would just be huge for this team. They're kind of finding their stride, and this win over Frenship got them going pretty well.
All right, also in local action, Cooper over Saginaw 48-13, and Dan, Noah Garcia absolutely went off in this ballgame.
And I think the important thing to point out here is when I was out there last week, they were working out with a JV line because basically their entire varsity offensive line was in quarantine. So they had a bunch of young guys step up and clearly did a great job. Noah had a huge game with over 235 yards, 3 touchdowns, and did what he does. So and granted, Saginaw is a struggling team. They're still winless. But anytime you're playing with a young offensive line that hadn't played a whole lot, they really hadn't played at all at the varsity level, some of those guys, that's a big deal. So a good win for them. They keep momentum going, and they take now an undefeated district record into this huge game this week against Azles. So Cooper's playing really well. And I'll say one thing I really like about what Coach Aaron Rohn has done there is they've had their share of kind of COVID adversity. They've had some issues this year. The Wylie game got canceled because of COVID issues with Wylie. They had a game canceled. Noah Garcia missed a game earlier in the season against Abilene High. And he's just taking it all in stride. He said, look, I mean, it's the next man up. We're not going to make excuses. We train all these guys the same. We're going to keep playing. We're going to keep pushing. And so far, that's worked out really well for him.
All right, also on the local front, Dan, Wylie went up to Canyon, faced Canyon Randall, fell 28-14, and really offensively, just not their night. 175 yards in total offense. That's not going to get it done.
No, it absolutely won't. And that was really, I think, a disappointing loss for Wylie. This was a game that I think they expected to go up there. They expected to play well, and they just didn't on the offensive side of the football. Like you said, 175 yards, couldn't get anything going in the run game, couldn't get anything going in the passing game. It was still a 7-point game in the fourth quarter because the defense did a fairly good job, but they just could never really get going offensively. And that loss is going to be a tough one for them because now you're looking at potentially at a 3-way tie for third in that district between Wylie, Wichita Falls High, and Canyon Randall. And that means you're probably going to – I mean, if things go as expected, if Wylie can't upset Lubbock Cooper this week on the road, which is a tough ask, then there could be looking at a three-way tie there. The one good thing for Wylie is they had a big 30-point win over Wichita Falls High, so that's going to be good for them in a positive point situation. But they also lost by 14 to Randall, so we'll just kind of have to see how that goes.
All right, with that, we're going to jump into last week's playoff games. We're going to start with a Thursday night game, Dan, that you attended. You were there for Cisco's big win over Stamford, 70-32. And right now, the Lobos' execution offensively is just dynamite.
Yeah, I mean, they're scary right now the way they're running the football. They've had over 1,000 yards combined the last two games. You got to see the game against San Saba where they rushed for over 500 yards, won that one big. I saw them rush for over 400 yards against Stamford. And, yeah, I mean, you want to be playing your best football this time of year, and Cisco absolutely is. If you're Coach Danette, you've got to feel really good about the way your team's playing. And if they keep this up, I think they're a threat. I mean, obviously, everybody kind of points to Post as the favorite maybe in that region, and for good reason. Post is a very, very good football team. But the way Cisco's playing right now, I would not put it past them, to have a chance to go into a game against a Post and have an opportunity at an upset.
One thing I'm liking about this Cisco offense, the way they're coming up there, and giving the defense very little time to react. They are hustling up to the line of scrimmage, and they're showing a split back look, then they're showing an eye look, and really they're giving you just a split second to make a quick adjustment because it's an entirely different playbook out of the split back look and the eye formation look. It's tough to stop the way they're running it and executing it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. The way they're executing right now, I mean, San Saba had no answer for it. Stanford had no answer for it. We'll see if the teams that are coming up on their playoff schedule do. But I agree with you. I like what they're doing, and that was a fun game to see Thursday. You had a pretty entertaining Thursday game as well. Wall edging Boyd, kind of getting by on the seat of their pants. A 20-14 win in overtime. Just tell us about that one.
Well, Wall dodged a bullet, no doubt about it. But they deserved to win the football game. But they had a miraculous game-saving tackle by Justice Watkins, who chased down Rendon Lamont, who had run 70 yards inside the 5, only to have Watkins pull him down and save the game. And then after that, instead of getting a real short chip shot field goal that was basically an extra point, they held them out of the end zone and pushed them back all the way to the 10. By the time it was fourth down, you were looking at a 27-yard field goal rather than basically an extra point, and they hooked it. And that sent the game into overtime, and Wall prevailed. They got the stop, and then Gabe Haskins hit Chase Rios in the corner of the end zone with a 20-yard game winner. It was an absolute barn burner, great physical football game, fun to watch, and it was my kind of game. I mean, we were at halftime in about 45 minutes. It was trench warfare at its finest. A great ball game.
Yeah, my game was going to the second half at 9 p.m. I think yours was already done by then. But I wonder how much of that game was just Wall, having that experience. This is a Wall program that has been in these situations a lot over the years. And obviously they made the plays when they needed to. Boyd's a program that's definitely on the rise. That's been a very competitive program the last 2 years. But you got to appreciate what Wall did, making those plays down the stretch to get the win there.
Well, that's how you win championships. That's how you advance in the playoffs and making the key plays when you have to. I thought Boyd played pretty well. They had a couple of plays that were botched. They had a touchdown call back in overtime on a holding call, then the missed field goal. But other than that, really, I thought that Boyd played pretty well. They're just playing an outstanding Wall football team and didn't make the plays when they had to.
Moving on to Friday, you had another competitive game, San Saba 31, Forsan 17. That was one that you and I were both pretty excited about coming in. We thought it would be a competitive game. What did you see from both teams in that one?
All right, I saw a great ball game. Forsan, I tell you what, it's one of the best 5-5 teams I've seen at the 2A level. That's about as good a 5-5 team as you're going to see. They were facing a San Saba team that had its full complement of players back, that had a few people that had missed because of COVID against Cisco. They had the full complement of players, and Forsan gave them all they wanted. This ball game was tied at 17 in the third quarter, and then a couple of late touchdowns from Stone Sears helped put the Armadillos over the top, a 5-yarder and a 6-yarder, and then San Saba advances. But this was a very physical, rough football game. It was a great football game to watch. It was fun, and it was really competitive, really all the way through. So Forsan was never out of it. They always had a chance in this, but San Saba just executed a little bit better down the stretch and really started maybe winning the physical battle just a little bit in the second half, and finally got Forsan's offense stopped. They stopped them on 5 of their last 6 possessions, and that's really where the ball game was decided.
Yeah, and I think this was a big game for both teams. San Saba needed to bounce back from that loss to Cisco, and they did. And Forsan showed once again that this is a team to be reckoned with. And here's one thing to remember about that Forsan team. You mentioned that they're probably one of the best 5-5 teams you've ever seen. Most of those kids will be back next year, especially all those skill kids. This is going to be a dangerous, dangerous team last year. This was a team that almost beat Anson, almost beat Hawley, and gave San Saba all they wanted. So you're talking about some of the top teams in this region. And so yeah, I mean, this Forsan team, the trajectory is pointed straight up with this group, and I think that this game showed once again that they'll be back next year, and they're going to be dangerous.
Now, I like both of these ball clubs. I like Forsan. I like their attitude. I like the way they approach the game. They play football the way I like it to be played. They're just physical, and I mean they want to beat you in the trenches. And they're young. This is going to be an outstanding football team next year. San Saba, it's nice to see them kind of get their momentum back. I think Cisco put them back on their heels, but they showed up ready to play. And and when the chips were down, they performed. They got the key plays when they needed them, and they're advancing. They're going to be good. They're going to have Panhandle next, and that's going to be a tough ball game. That's going to be a tough ball game with a lot of fireworks.
For sure. And you mentioned I like both those teams as well, and I like both of those coaches. Those are two no-nonsense, no-excuse guys who are both running really strong programs and programs that I think have really bright futures. So obviously it's big for San Saba to get that win and move on, but Forsan's got plenty to look forward to.
All right, with that, we're going to jump up to Class 4A in a bi-district game that we were keeping an eye on, Dan. We had a feeling that this might be closer than what people were projecting. El Paso Riverside was a 17-point favorite by some estimations. I had a feeling Big Spring was going to make a game of this. I didn't pull the trigger on the pick. I missed the pick. But Big Spring, sure enough, takes the ballgame 32-26 in overtime.
Triple overtime, yeah, and I did pull the trigger, so I got that one. But yeah, that's a huge win for Big Spring. This is a program that has struggled in recent years, and I think that this win puts them. I mean, this win kind of puts them in a position to where this is clear progress. This is five wins now. They're 5-3. Only played 8 games. That guarantees them a winning record to finish the season, and just a big win for them. Gabriel Baiza, their quarterback, who's had a really nice year as a junior, had another huge game. Rushed for over 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. Got the winning score on a touchdown pass, which was big for him because he had thrown a couple interceptions before that. So just a really big, gutty win from a team that is obviously getting better. And I think that's the big thing for what Coach Cannon McWilliams is doing there is he's trying to lay the foundation, and this is clear progress for that program.
All right, and with that, we're going to jump over to Class 3A by district. Another close ball game last week. Jim Ned 21, Paradise 18. Dan, I think that that was closer than you and I both expected, but that really just goes to show you how difficult the playoffs are. Xavier Wishart had a ball game, 177 yards rushing and 2 scores, but it's only going to get tougher from this point forward.
Yeah, this was a tough game for him. Jim Ned actually trailed this one after 3 quarters, so they went into the fourth quarter down 10-7. Had only scored the 1 touchdown. Finally got things going a little bit in the fourth quarter. Xavier Wishart had the go-ahead touchdown, and then Tate Yardley threw a touchdown pass to put him up 2 scores before Paradise scored to make it the 3-point margin. But I think you're right. This is one where Jim Ned really had to gut this one out, and it probably was closer than a lot of people expected. The one thing that I think should be pointed out is this Paradise team entered the playoffs on a 4-game winning streak. They were playing good football by the end of the regular season. But I think you are right. This is a very tough region, and Jim Ned will definitely have to get off to a faster start if they want to continue, their playoff run into the 3rd or 4th round, particularly the 4th round since they got a matchup with Brock coming up before too long. So, but yeah, a very tough game, and you got to hope that this will kind of get Jim Ned going forward.
All right, and with that, we want to touch on one of the bigger stories that came up last week. Hamlin in a 44-6 win over Olney loses a star 2-way player, Jackson Cepeda, to an ankle injury, carried off on a stretcher. That's a huge loss for Hamlin. It's enormous.
Yeah, really big. The one good news there, they did determine there were no fractures, no tears, but he did have a dislocated ankle. By all accounts, it was a pretty gruesome injury. So, yeah, that's a big loss. One thing we had talked about with Hamlin basically all year was that this was a very, very good football team. This is a state contending football team, but it's not a real deep football team, how they needed to stay healthy. This is potentially a very big loss. The one thing I like about this Hamlin team is at those positions, they do have a little bit of talent, but yeah, that's not a guy you replace real easily. Jackson Cepeda is a guy who's been doing it for years and years. He and Braden Warner have kind of been those 4-year guys who have really kind of been the backbone of that rise. So just a really tough news to see him injured that way. And hopefully they can kind of rally around him and continue this run, because this is a really, really good football team. You'd hate to have to see a season like this derailed by an injury or something like that.
Well, at that level, it can happen. At Class 2A D2, when you lose one guy, you usually lose two. It's usually a two-way player. And, 2 and 3 injuries can wipe a season out. At that level. 3 injuries can be really losing 6 starters and can just completely end your season. So it's a big loss for Hamlin, because there's some great teams ahead. Windthorst is still ahead. They need these guys.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll see how they handle that. If there's a team I think that's equipped maybe to from a leadership standpoint to get through something like that, this Hamlin team's really strong in that area. But just from a personnel standpoint, you're losing, like you said, one loss is losing two really standout players when you talk about the Cepeda's impact on both sides of the football.
And with that, we are going to jump ahead to this week's area round games. Before we do that, we want to thank some of our sponsors. First and foremost, Capital Farm Credit, who brings you these Wednesday night podcasts free of charge throughout the school year. Also, for the love of the game broadcasting, and our old friend Terry Slavens, owner of Classic Country, 1330 AM out of Graham, 94.7 FM KWKQ out of Graham, K-Lakes, 93.5 FM out of Breckenridge, 97.7 KATX FM out of Eastland, KROO 1430 AM out of Breck, and KWBY 98.5 FM out of Ranger. That is for the love of the game broadcasting. Also, Phil Hill of the Abilene Realtors Group, big supporter of local athletics. If you're in the market, give Phil a call at 325-669-5153 or visit his website at philhillproperties.com. And finally, Underwoods Cafeteria in Brownwood. As you're going through Brownwood, look around for the big cowboy sign and you'll find it. Some of the best home cooking in the big country. That's Underwoods Cafeteria, a landmark in the big country since 1946. All right, and with that, we're going to jump into the area round. We're going to start in Class 2A, Region 2, 2A, Division 2, where we have 2 ball clubs that are still alive. Hamlin at 10-0 facing Petrolia, 7-3. That's going to be 7 p.m. Friday at Seymour. And then we've got Albany at 9-1 versus Rawls at 7-3, 7 p.m. Thursday. That's going to be in Snyder. I like both of our teams to win big in those games.
Yeah, I agree. These are the 2 teams I think we definitely expected to still be here at this stage. You got to remember, this is Albany's playoff opener since last week's game against Chico got canceled due to COVID. So we'll see if they can shake off any ring rust. But like you said, I expect both of our teams to handle their opponents this week.
All right, now let's jump into Class 2A, Division 1, Region 1. We've got several of our ball clubs still alive. We've got Saba, the Armadillos at 8-2, coming off a win over Forsan, facing Panhandle at 9-2. That's going to be 7 p.m. Friday in Henrietta. That's an explosive Panhandle team that Saba is going to go up against. That's a good ball game. Anson at 8-2, facing the defending state runner-ups, Post, 11-0. That's going to be 7 p.m. Friday in Clyde. Also, we've got Holly at 9-2 facing Sundown at 9-2. That's going to be at 4 p.m. Friday in Big Spring. And finally, Cisco at 8-3 with a lot of momentum facing Olton at 8-3, 7 p.m. Friday in Colorado City. All right, and Dan, I'd give all of our local area teams a pretty good shot at winning in the area round, with the possible exception of Anson, who's going to have a major league challenge facing a Post team that was the defending runner-ups in Division 2 or Division 1, Class 2A.
Yeah, I mean, I think looking at these, all of these are tough matchups, but you'd kind of expect that to be the case in the second round. You're talking about, generally speaking, first or second round place teams in their district a lot of times. So, some tough matchups. The Post one against Anson, I kind of feel the same way you do. I like this Anson team a lot. They've got a lot of speed. They're playing really good defense, but Post is just one of those teams, man. We'll have to see if they can stay in that one for a while.
All right, that's just a very tough matchup, and every now and then that's just what you're going to face in the area round. If you're not a number 1 seed, that's what you can run into, and that's the value of seeding. Anson was in a tough district; they got a 2 seed, and boom, they're stuck with Post in the second round. That's the way it happens.
Yeah, I mean, that's just kind of the luck of the draw sometimes. That's why it's so important to win district titles when you can. But I mean, honestly, Holly won that district title, and their matchup with Sundown isn't going to be an easy one either. So we'll see how it goes. I think that, like you said, I think all of these teams, other than maybe Anson, have an opportunity to advance, but these are going to be some tough matchups.
All right, now we're going to jump into Class 3A, Region 2, Class 3A, D2. We've got 1 ball club in this bracket that is still alive. We lost Comanche last week. We have Eastland, 8-3. They're facing Bells at 9-2. That is 7:30 p.m. Friday in Boyd. And I'll tell you what, Dan, I'll believe that somebody can stop this Eastland offense. I'll believe it when I see it. The way they're running right now, I don't know that there's a 3A D2 team that can really just slow them down enough to beat them. It's going to have to be one of those monstrous teams that's good enough to get to Arlington.
Yeah, I tend to agree. This Bells team is very good, but you're talking about an Eastland team that's won 8 straight games, just putting up, monstrous numbers, over 55 points per game during that win streak. They've really hit their stride. So we'll see. I tend to agree. If somebody's going to stop them, it's going to be a really, really good football team. We'll see if Bells is that football team. I like Eastland, but we'll just have to see.
All right, now we're going to jump over to Region 1, Class 3A. Still in 3A, we're going to go to Division 2, Region 1. We should have 2 ball clubs that are still alive in this bracket. We've got Ballinger at 10-1, facing a very good team from Spearman at 10-1. That is 7 p.m. Friday in Floydada. And then we got the Bangs Dragons, who are still alive at 9-1, facing Canadian, and that's at 7 p.m. Friday in Vernon. And Dan, I'll tell you what, Bangs with a breakout season at 9-1. Man, I would like to see them facing somebody else in the second round other than Canadian. That's a tough way to go. That's a major league challenge for Coach Maxfield and company right there.
Yeah, and we mentioned this with Anson. That's the value of winning your district. Obviously, Ballinger was able to, and their reward wasn't a whole lot better. They got to face Spearman, but Canadian's just a juggernaut. That's going to be a really tough matchup for Bangs. At this point, you just go in there and you don't have a whole lot to lose. You go in there and give your best shot and see what happens. But, yeah, you hate to see that as an area-round matchup given the season that Bangs has had. And moving on to 3A Division 1. In Region 1, we've got 3 teams remaining. Wall at 8-3 versus Bushland at 8-2. That game is at 7 p.m. Friday in Snyder. We've got Jim Ned at 9-1 versus Dalhart at 8-3. That game is at 7:30 p.m. Friday in Leveland. And finally, top-ranked Brock at 11-0, taking on Denver City at 7-4. That one at 7 p.m. Friday in Sweetwater. I like this slate for our teams. I think this is the region, probably our best opportunity to send 3 through to the next round. Not going to be easy by any stretch. Wall's going to have a tough one against a Bushland team that's really improved since its early season loss to Brock. But I like the way these teams are playing, even if Wall and Jim Ned did struggle maybe a little more than we expected in the first round.
I think it's Brock and really the rest of the bracket right now. I think Brock is the odds-on favorite to take the bracket. Jim Ned right now, a little concerned right now with the way they played last week in a narrow win over Paradise. We'll see. Dalhart is no pushover, obviously. And against Bushland, I'm wondering if Wall has the firepower to keep up with them. Bushland's played a lot better since losing to Brock early on. So that's going to be the challenge. Wall looked pretty solid defensively last week, but they're going to have to get a little bit more punch offensively, I think, to take Bushland the way Bushland's playing right now.
Yeah, you could be right about that. That's the one that probably concerns me the most in this slate because, like you said, Bushland has made massive progress since that loss to Brock. This Wall team, though, has gotten really good at grinding out tough wins. We'll see if they can do that again this week. But I do agree that they are going to have to find some offense. They're probably going to have to score more than, obviously, the 20 points they scored last week if they want to win this one. But we'll just have to see. And with Jim Ned, I'm willing to kind of see. That was their playoff opener. They got that out of the way, got the win. We'll see if maybe they can take a step forward this week against that Dalhart squad. If they do, it's going to set up most likely a big matchup with Brock in the third round, which I know that you and I have both kind of had our eye on for a little while.
If Jim Ned gets through this one, them against Brock would be one of those matchups that, yeah, absolutely, that we've kind of envisioned. That we've hoped that would materialize. But this game against Dalhart is not going to be. It's not going to be easy to get through. It's going to be tough. Okay, with that, we've got one team alive in Class 4A Division 2, and that is the Sweetwater Mustangs. And they've got Salina. They've got a 4-4 Salina team, and I'm telling you right now, Dan, that 4-4 record that Salina has posted doesn't mean a thing. This is going to be a very tough matchup and an interesting ball game, really, a diverse set of styles. Can the Mustangs get the football away from Salina enough to get that offense going? And that's going to be, I think, where the game is decided.
That's the question. I really like the way this Sweetwater team's playing, though. Leo Halsey has really just become one of the area's dual threat stars. He is running the ball exceptionally well this year. He's still a great passer, and their offense is just humming as we expected it to. So we'll see if they can continue to produce at that level against a good Salina defense, and then if they can get the ball away from that Salina offense. But I like the way Sweetwater's playing, but this is going to be a tougher matchup than people would expect just looking at those two records.
Yeah, absolutely. You can throw the records out, as a matter of fact. Regardless of what happens, what a season for Sweetwater and what a turnaround for Coach Ben McGehee. They're to be congratulated. Tremendous season. Tremendous.
Yep. No, he's done a great job. I mean, you look at what he had, the huge first season with some of the holdovers from the previous staff, went through a massive rebuilding job, and he's got them playing exceptional football right now. So it's been pretty fun to watch. And now moving up to Division I, we've got a couple of teams remaining. We'll start in Region 2, where we've got Stephenville at 6-5, taking on top-ranked Argyle at 11-0. That game at 7 p.m. Friday at Globe Life Park in Arlington. This Stephenville team's had a great season. They played a really tough schedule and fared well against it. But this is going to be a really, really tough matchup. This Argyle team is something else.
Yeah, well, I mean, Argyle's top ranked for a reason. They are 11-0. They haven't given up more than 19 points in 6 weeks. And that's against solid competition. Argyle is Argyle. Right now, they're the odds-on favorite to get back to Arlington again. This is going to be a tough road to hoe for Stephenville.
Yeah, no question. One big comparison point that I think probably makes this, kind of shows what a tough matchup this is going to be for Stephenville. Argyle beat Waco La Vega, a really good football team, 35-7. That just kind of shows what they're capable of. And they played a few closer games than that since. But yeah, Stephenville's going to have to play its best game of the season to give themselves a chance. And they're going to have to really find a way to dig deep on the defensive side, particularly if they want to give themselves an opportunity to stay in this game.
And with that, we got one more ball club that is still alive in Class 4A. That's Division I. We've got the Big Spring Steers, fresh off a 32-26 win over El Paso Riverside last week. They've got Springtown, a very explosive Springtown football team. Big Spring at 5-3, facing Springtown 9-2. That's 4 p.m. Friday. That's going to be at Abilene Christian University's Wildcat Stadium right here in Abilene.
Yeah, and we said last week that that Big Spring, I thought it was important for them to get that first round win. If they could get that first round win, I think that would be clear progress and kind of be a huge step for that program. They were able to do that. Now you just try to go out and you're playing a really, really good Springtown team that's going to be really, really tough to beat. So you just go out there with nothing to lose and try to give it your best shot. But this program has already made tremendous progress. They're guaranteed a winning season, which is big for them. They've really kind of struggled in recent years. So I think this is a really good foundational season for them. So we'll see what they can do, but this one is going to be a tough matchup for them.
Absolutely. Big Spring took a step forward this year, but they are going to be going into this ball game as a big underdog. That's the way it is. They just have to throw caution to the wind, have fun, and let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah, one thing worth mentioning, the Springtown coach is former Eastland coach Brian Hewlett, so he'll be making a return to the big country when they come to Abilene for that one. So that's kind of a neat little twist there. We've got several coaches who have coached in our area that we've worked with over the years that are doing big things across the state, and Hewlett's definitely one of those.
And with that, it's just about time to bring on Dublin head football coach and athletic director Bob Cervetto, who's kind enough to join us for tonight's show. Bob announced his retirement last week, and we, of course, wish him well. We wanted to give him a chance to say hello and goodbye to everybody in the big country, but we'll be seeing him around.
Yeah, no question. It's tough to say goodbye to him. He's going to be a guy that's going to be really missed in this area, just from those sidelines, and such a great dude, such a great quote. I mean, he's going to be a guy that I'm certainly going to miss working with, but I do wish him the best in his retirement. It's going to be, I'm sure he's going to have a blast getting to spend some time with his wife and just kind of be away from the grind a little bit. He's definitely earned it. There's no question about that.
And joining us now via Zoom, the man, the myth, the legend, Bob Cervetto of Dublin, head football coach who has just announced his retirement. Coach, thank you very much for joining us.
Hey, you bet, Evan.
All right, Coach, we talked about this the other night, but I wanted to let everybody out there hear in your own words. What made this the right time for you to finally hang up the whistle?
Well, I tell you what, thought about it a little bit last year, and then how our kids respond with the time off, and knowing that it could be a difficult year if any of our kids got sick, which is exactly what happened. I'd hate to put that on a new coach, especially a guy that's been with me for 30 years. I want to treat him right and give him a chance to start off on a good foot. So I just said, I told Dr. Snyder, I need to come back, do this fall. We opened up a new stadium. It was big for the community, and And so we got the stadium opened. We went through a tough, had some great kids, went through a difficult situation. But now I think everything's kind of settled down into the new normal and ready to go. And I think the time's right. The 2 weeks I was on quarantine, the only 2 games I've ever missed in 41 years, everything ran real smooth, and the leadership's in place. And, it's time to kind of get out of the way and let these young bucks run with it.
All right. Now, Coach, a lot of guys in your profession would have wanted to leave on a high note after, a season that saw you make a deep playoff run or something of that nature. But you chose to, you knew a rebuilding season was coming up, and you chose that to be your swan song. A lot of people are finding that interesting.
Well, Evan, we got into this business to give kids hope, and I've been very blessed, fortunate to be with, a lot of great coaches. I mean, Art Browse and Chad Morris, Mike Copeland, those guys, when you talk about leadership, you talk about guys that have been in the, in the heat, the fire, and been a part of some great teams. And the things we've done over here at Dublin has been phenomenal. We've got a great administration, great superintendent. We were, everybody said this was not a good move, and we felt it was a great move. Restore the community, restore the kids, give them hope. Or, our scores, are off the roof. Had a blue ribbon school last year. The kids are, competing and they're participating. It's not always about the W and L's. It's about where these kids are and what they're going to be when they walk across the stage. And don't get me wrong, man. I've been fortunate to have 4 rings. I'd like to have 5, but all things considered, man, we've made great strides in Dublin. There's a heartbeat in the city. People are coming in to play playoff games here and use our facilities, and it's so there's a lot of neat things happening, and I think there's going to be some other ways that maybe I can help the community grow. So I thought this was a good time that I might start dating my wife again. So pretty excited for that opportunity.
All right. And, Coach, I've been real impressed just from what I've seen on social media in the response to our story about the announcement, just kind of with the response from the community. It's clear that the impact that you made, and I'm glad, obviously, to see that recognized. I guess just how busy has your cell phone been, the last couple of days with people with the well wishes and those sorts of things, and just how good has that felt?
Well, it's humbling. It's surreal. You look back, man, I really needed to be at the lake this weekend. It was a good time. I was sitting there with a guy that's my pastor and past Booster Club president. And I told him, I said, man, what an emotional, is more than what I expected. I've heard from kids, back in the early 80s when we were in Stephenville, and you're thinking, well, you didn't, what they remember. And they're talking about how important it was and how they felt and how they responded. It made them feel good about just coming to school, and they weren't necessarily the athletes. And it's just been we run so fast and we keep pushing the limit that we've really never had time over those 41 years to stop and smell the roses. And I know a lot of these guys that get through, man. All of a sudden, these guys come out and said, "Well, Coach, let me tell you, and let me tell you about this. Let me tell you about that." And you go, "Wow, really?" And you don't realize it at the time because everything is moving so fast. But it's been a pretty surreal weekend, Chief. Really has.
Coach, what's it going to be like for you that first Friday night when you walk out there and Dublin is playing and you're not the head football coach? Or what's it going to be like when two-a-days start? Is it going to be tough for you at that point?
Well, those are, the slight, I would say, advantage I might have is my last 4 years at Stephenville, our building principal passed away, and I kind of jumped into that principal's position. Now, the difference was I was still coaching the kickers, so I was a principal all week long. I worked kids out on Wednesdays, and then Coach Gillespie let me hang out on the sidelines, with the kickers on Friday night. So I never really got out of it, but it was kind of a taste that, and 2 days didn't miss, and, late nights during the week did miss, but Friday nights, you miss the camaraderie with the coaches, the time you spend with them, and their ups and downs. That's probably hard. And then the hardest thing is, kids in the locker room. When you finally, you can read them in the locker room when they come in there, when they're having a bad day, and you get to visit with them, and those relationships with the coaches and the kids is going to be tough. And Friday nights, but 2 days, this fat boy ain't missing those. So I'm gonna tell you, I may be in the mountains of Colorado somewhere. I don't know. My pastor told me, he said, by the way, he said, go ahead, let's plan where we're going the first 2 weeks, 2 days. I said, all right. I knew where he's got, and it's a lot easier to talk about it now than when it actually arrives. So those will be tough times. These will be bridges to cross, but the guys in place, I'm so excited for him. And Coach Hardcastle's been such a great loyal friend and one heck of a worker. I mean, he's a workhorse, and so excited for him in that endeavor. And it's going to be I'm excited for the kids. There is definitely a pep in the step when I was gone, and that's exactly what the kids needed. So really excited for what the future holds for the Dublin Lions.
All right, Coach, you'd mentioned that you're going to be getting to spend more time with your wife again and those sorts of things. I guess just how has she responded to having you around the house more?
Well, we had a good dry run this weekend, and it seemed like dating was in full effect. And, and each one of my kids has 2 kids. So I've got 4 grandkids, and we managed to see those this evening when we got back. And I'm really looking forward to being able to spend some more time with those kiddos. That's going to be really good. And for Normie, she's had a lot of nights, man. It was by herself, just sitting at the house waiting for me to come in, even on nights we didn't play games. And when I decided to jump into this, 11 years ago, after being administrator, she says, yeah, I'm good with it. And your hours are the same, so it's not going to make any difference. But I was working weekends now, whereas as an administrator, I didn't have to work the weekends. So, just having more time, just kind of go as we please and visit the grandkids, help out and pick them up from school and help with their work and, just kind of be around and then take a trip.
Well, Coach, that kind of leads into our next question. I know you're going to be going to the lake quite a bit, but what else are you going to be doing? What else are you going to be doing to spend and enjoy your retirement?
Whatever my wife wants me to do. For a long time, she's done what I've needed to be done. And no, I think we're going to be able to do some things. We want to travel. We just got us a trailer. Never had one of those. So I'm learning to pull it. And, hopefully we can go see some sights and in between the grandkids and, just kind of go where we want to. I got a brother that lives in Florida. We want to go visit him. And, because now we have a little bit of time that we can do it. Without saying, well, I've only got this window of 5 days. What do you want to do? So, because I've always felt it was important to be at the school. So, going to be fun, Ev. I'm going to keep up with you guys, though, because you're still going to give me a free membership, right? I mean, I just got to get that. If I put it on air, I'm good.
Yeah, you got it.
Coach, you mentioned Coach Hardcastle, and he's obviously been with you for a long time, and I guess Dublin knows what he's about. But what is Dublin getting under Coach Hardcastle as a head coach?
You're getting a real smart son of a gun. I mean, that dude is probably one of the smartest coaches I've been around. I mean, he's a workaholic. He's into the kids, and he dissects things and stuff. And I'm just so proud of him. And we've got a great staff, and he's been running his offensive staff and really an integral part of all the hiring processes the last couple of years. So knowing that at any time this could take place. So I made sure he was in the middle of all the hiring. So, like I said, no drop off. I think the kids will be excited. Everything will start moving forward. Monday will be a tough day because Friday I wasn't, after I announced it, I went and hooked up the trailer and had to leave for a while. So, but I think Coach Hardcastle, they've already got a plan. And it was important because you never know with COVID. So these guys had to know the direction that Coach Hardcastle wanted to go. And they've already got their off-season planned in accordance with all the other sports that are going on. So I wanted to give him as fair a chance as anything to get it going.
Coach, the other day I asked you about putting your mark on the program, putting your mark on the school. And, it'd be very easy for you to bring up football, but you did not bring up football. You got the program headed in the right direction. There's no question that the football program's in better shape. But I found it interesting that the first thing you brought up was the fact that Dublin is a blue ribbon program now, a blue ribbon school. That was at the top of your priority list.
Well, it's really neat. Our superintendent has such great vision and had always said, a great community is a great school and a great school is a great community. And it's really tied the community into our school. When we got here 11 years ago, our elementary school was and our junior high was in trouble with the state. They had a monitor coming in. Things weren't good. I mean, it was as bad, some guy told me one time they thought it was one of the 4 worst programs in the state of Texas. All that combined with the academics and life was pretty tough, man. Had a bad reputation of people not being very successful. Kids weren't wearing Dublin shirts. I'd see a Heiko or DeLeon or Tarleton or Stephenville, but couldn't find a kid wearing a Dublin shirt. And now, it's quite different. Blue ribbon school. Very proud of that. Proud of our kids that are busting their chops every day in the classroom. We kind of went further than that. It said when academics are good, athletics is good. And when athletics is good, academics is good. So we try to put it all together because they know one and the other go hand in hand. And we feel both of them are just as important as the other to complete a full, well-rounded education.
And Coach, you talked a little bit about this, but you had a complete career. You were a long-time assistant under some really successful head coaches at Stephenville. You spent that time in administration. You got to finish your career with your first head coaching job and did everything you did at Dublin. I guess just have you had a chance yet to kind of reflect on that whole deal, just to reflect on everything you were able to accomplish in that time?
I told my wife today, we pulled back in and we cleaned up the camper and we got it unattached without killing each other. And, we just stood on the back porch for a little bit and said, wow, can you believe that, that it's where we've been the last 41 years and, and we're going to get to spend some time together now. And like I said, it's pretty surreal. I think it's going to take a while to digest everything. Coaches have called and players and students that weren't even athletes have texted me or messaged me. And I'm just like, wow. And I feel so guilty because I'm having to pull out an annual to find out who that kid was. And that's always been big with me that especially when I was teaching math, because that was a stereotype too, that coaches couldn't be great teachers. And so I really worked hard at that. And then I really worked hard when they were in the classroom trying to treat all kids the same. That no one group was athletes weren't better than non-athletes or band people were not better than that all kids were important and everybody has value of where they need to be and what they're doing. And basically, I got to speak at a deal for Coach Browse one time, and I was the last speaker, and everybody said everything. And what are you going to say? And I just went up there. I said, what Coach Browse did in Stephenville's community was, give kids hope. Give kids hope that they could be whatever they want to be. When they walk across the stage, they know they had the self-confidence to do it. And we've kind of taken that moniker and we've run with it. And I've tried to instill that in my son who coaches. And I said, that's what you want to do, dude. You want to give kids hope. I try to transcend that in all the coaches. I said, I know everybody wants a ring. I know everybody wants to go undefeated. But when it's all said and done, did you give the kids hope that once you graduate, they can go out and be a productive member of society? And I encourage them all to leave Dublin for about 10 years and then move back. So that way they can be a great citizen and help the community grow.
All right, Coach, last question, and we're looking specifically now at kind of your time at Dublin. Obviously, you took over a moribund program, one that had kind of really struggled before you got there. You do what you do there, and now you're leaving with your name and Norma's name on that stadium. I guess just what does that mean to you? And I guess when 10, 15, 20 years from now, when people look up there and see Bob Cervetto's name, what do you think will be their impression of what you did there?
I can't imagine what their impression's going to be. That's I told Dr. Snyder, man, I said, I've been here, 10 years and he wanted to do that. And I went, wow, and the board members all, they unanimously want to do it. And obviously Norm and I are very humbled. I didn't want my name up there by myself because she's such an integral part of everything of who I am and what I've been fortunate to get to do. And she deserved to be up there probably more than I did. But it's again, I hate to use that word surreal, but I mean, you sit back and you think that someday my grandkids will go up there and say, hey man, that's Papa, and Gaga, and you go, and that's really cool, that someone thought of us in that context.
Coach, thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy your retirement, and we will stay in touch with you. I'm sure we will run into you out there at Bob and Norma Cervetto Field on Game of the Weeks when we're out there. But enjoy your retirement.
Well, I hope so.
Thank you very much for all the pleasant times that we've had with you. It's been an absolute joy working with you over the years, and you will be missed. You'll be very missed.
Definitely.
Well, you guys, man, what you do for kids in the big country, is unprecedented. I mean, you focus on their successes, anything positive that they're doing, and you put kids in a great light. Because, man, it's so easy to get down on them and nitpick and find negative things. But, man, we've got some great kids around the state, and I applaud what all you guys do, man. And I want to tell you from the bottom of my heart, man, how much that we at Dublin have really appreciated how you've talked about the Dublin kids and what they've been doing. But man, when you talk about the Comanche kids and you talk about the Abilene Cooper kids, those are all really, it's just good stuff. And I appreciate what y'all do. You got a lot of passion, and that's what you got to have.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, Coach. Thank you very much. We'll be in touch, sir.
Hey, enjoy that
retirement.
vacation. Yeah.
What?
I'll keep up with you. Go to Arizona, baby.
When you travel to Arizona, let me know. I've got some spots out there for you. Got some
All
spots.
right, brother.
All righty. Take care.
All right. Thank you, Ev. Bye-bye.
So that was Dublin head football coach and athletic director Bob Cervetto, who has just announced his retirement last week. And Dan, he's going to be sorely missed. This is one of the best human beings that I've had the pleasure of working with. I don't know one person who does not like Bob Cervetto.
No, neither do I. And he was our most frequent podcast guest. I think he was the guy we would call anytime we needed a hole to fill, and we knew we were going to get a great conversation out of him. I'm obviously going to miss talking to him about football and about those sorts of things. But like you said, we will keep up with him. He's a guy that is a friend of ours, a friend of what we do, and he's just a great ambassador for high school sports, for education, and just for all those things that I said
For
earlier.
humanity.
The guy,
For
yes,
humanity.
yeah. He's a great guy, and like you said, he will be sorely missed. We'll definitely miss him here, and I know he'll be missed in Dublin as well.
He, the one thing that about Bob is that he never met a person he didn't like. That's, he never met a person he didn't like. He, or at least he never let on that he did. He was always happy to see anybody that anybody he shook hands with, anybody he saw, he was always glad to see you. Yeah. And it was always genuine. And that means a lot to people. That really does. It brightens people's day when they come across somebody who's glad to see him. And Bob Cervetto is that guy.
Yeah, and I think there's also something to the fact that he never let you know he was having a bad day. He probably had some bad days. Obviously, everyone does, but you would never know it. And I think that plays a large role in his impact as well. There's a lot to be negative about. There's a lot to get down about, and he's a guy that lifted people up. And to me, that's his legacy. He raised people up and showed them their potential and helped them reach it. So Just a great career and a great guy, and we will definitely miss him here.
A truly great man, and that's not that's not an overstatement at all. It really isn't. With that, it's time to wrap up this week's Capital Farm Credit Wednesday night podcast. Before we do that, we want to remind you that we have 3 separate subscription packages here at BigCountryPreps.com. We've got a monthly for $5 a month. We've got a semi-annual 6-month subscription. You can sign up for 6 months. We knocked the price down to $4 a month for that. And then we've got a yearly subscription, 12 months. We knocked that price down to $3 a month, $36 for a full year of Big Country High School athletic coverage. Also, we want to remind you YouTubers that watch our videos to hit the subscribe button. Most people that watch our videos watch it through our website, and that's fine. But if you're a YouTuber, please hit that subscribe button so that our videos are ready and waiting for you every time you jump on YouTube.
And also, we'd like to remind you that if you see a photo you like in any one of our galleries, it is available for just $7. You can click on that small shopping cart icon to the bottom right, follow that prompt, and purchase as many of those as you would like. But you've probably seen we take a lot of photos at the events we're at. We've got a rapidly growing photo archive we're adding to basically weekly. Check that out. There's a lot of photos back all the way from 2018 to now. Yeah, check it out, and hope you enjoy it. That's something we're real proud of here at BigCountryPreps.com.
All Big Country, all high school, all the time. Welcome home.